Hello, friends. Welcome back to Hmong Women Thriving. Okay, y'all, I'm so excited for this episode today, okay? Today, I'm so excited to be joined by the one and the only Ninaco. She is our Hmong American rapper, singer, and songwriter who is paving a way for all of us in Los Angeles. Hello, Los Angeles, California. With her unapologetic music and fearless storytelling, Nananko creates music for Hmong girls who are loud, bold, and unafraid, amplifying voices that don't always get heard. She shares her journey, vlogs, and creative processes across all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, connecting with other courageous Hmong women along the way. So, in this episode, we're going to chat with Nanako about her path into music, what inspires her, and the power of representation in creative spaces. So, hello. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you on. We're just gonna jump right into it, girl, okay?
Perfect.
So tell us all about your background and how did you first get into music?
Yeah, I am. Well, my full name is Kalina Vang, and I like to start it off with that because I think, people want to know what type of Hmong you are. So I'm a Vang girl.
I have to tell you, one of like my best friends are Vings, and for some reason, I just click so well with Vings. So period. I knew from the moment I was like, I love her. I love her already. Okay.
Vangs are kind of loud, so yes.
I
But I
love
love
it. I
that.
love it.
That means you can handle a lot of energy. So good. Good
Yes,
for you.
100%.
But yeah, so I'm a Vang and I'm the oldest of 10. So I come from a pretty big family, and I like to start off with that because I don't know, I think there's a lot of people who could relate to having a big family. And so that's definitely one thing that I feel like definitely has shaped me into being the woman I am today, being a family person. And also with music, I've always known that I wanted to do music from a young age. So it was just really the idea of how I wanted to do it and when I was gonna do it.
Do you have like when you were younger, did you have anyone who you like consistently listened to?
Yes. I used to listen to Britney Spears and Selena a lot
Yes.
growing up. Um,
Yes, I love that.
they were like my main like movie and like DVDs that I would like listen to and watch. But outside of that, I've always been a big lover of R&B, and so I grew up
Mm.
listening to like Usher, Neo, Chris Brown. And then as I got older, I was more into like the rap music. Like I really loved Nicki Minaj. And then
Mm.
obviously Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. And then when I was younger, though, I did listen to um, which is the only Hmong band that I would listen to, was Paradise. And
Oh,
so
period.
yeah, so I'm like, those were like definitely my like, oh yes, if I could do anything, I am inspired by these people.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Shout out to Paradise because they have all the best songs.
Feature me, Paradise, please.
Yes, featured Nanako. Come on. Rap collab and everything. Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
I'm
Yes,
so
yes.
ready.
So my next question for you, and this is just upon my research and obviously knowing you a little bit. You grew up in Wisconsin, okay,
Yes.
Midwest girly. Come on, we all the Midwest girlies here.
Yes.
What role did your the Hmong heritage play in your early musical experiences?
I think definitely being obviously a Hmong daughter, and just the experiences that I went through growing up, because I feel like from a young age, right, we are already taught and kind of not groomed, but kind of raised to be the perfect wife by like the age of 12 and 13, right? And so when I grew up in Wisconsin and being the oldest, I'm the oldest of 10 now, but growing up at the time, I was the oldest of seven. And I
Mm.
was the only one because I think my sister, the one oldest after me is 7 years apart, and then after her,
Oh
they're
wow.
like back to back. So they're
Oh.
actually pretty close in age, but I'm the oldest, and so my whole upbringing was literally just like taking care of the kids. And I think that like some of the experiences that I had as well, being in that era of like the 1990s and like the 2000s, watching a lot of like my female cousins, right, and my relatives kind of run off to get married. I think that
Mm.
that kind of really sat with me like, dang, why are we doing that? And like, oh, like, why aren't I doing that? It sounds so funny. Like, I mean, I never thought of it. Like, I was never like, I'm gonna go get married to live the life that I want to live. But I think I always understood that. I was like, no, I wanted to create that path for me because I wanted to be able to have that foundation that I built on my own. And so I think like with my Hmong heritage, even growing up, right, we live under this fear and this mold of having to be the perfect daughter and the perfect wife at some point, and yeah, I think that like living in America, that's so unrealistic. I mean, yes, we could be a perfect wife, but there's so much more to life than just cooking and cleaning, and
Period.
so much more opportunities out there for us. And so I think that like growing up, I didn't have a lot of love and appreciation for, I guess, like our Hmong traditions. But as I got older, I can kind of look back on it with a different perspective and go, oh, I can understand why these things made sense and like they can blow, right? In
Mm-hmm.
America, maybe not so much. And I think it was just that hard divide of deciding what we should keep and what we should change when we came here. And so the idea of having to be a perfect wife, and always being compared to like your relatives, right? And just trying to bring honor to your family is really what sparked me to be like, damn, let's make some music to change that, because I've tried that my whole
Period.
life and it's not worth it, bro.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow. You hit all of the things that I've been thinking about recently too, and I love that. And I love that you kind of had that journey. And I mean, okay, I say this with a grain of salt, right? Like I love that we experienced all of that when we were younger, but like why did we experience that when we were younger at the same time?
Yep.
But I think it's just I love that, you honored your own way. And that's so inspiring, Nanako, because girl, some of us didn't see the way, right? Like some of us didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I love that for you, and that's just so inspiring. And I think it's such an amazing, as I continue to like interview people and have these conversations, the trend of that is like going like this, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we know that we can sustain ourselves as Hmong women. We know that we are capable, and we've always been capable of doing all of this, right? Like who cooks and cleans at all of the Hmong events? We do, right? Like it's,
Yep.
that's just how we are. That's just how we've kind of shaped ourselves to become. And so I think it's just so amazing that the I don't want to say the trend, the growth of Hmong
Yes.
women just continues to rise above and beyond. And that's all thanks to, people like you who early on was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to get married, run away at 13, get married. Like,
Let me
I'm
try
going to do
something
something
else.
else. Yes. Yes,
There's a few
exactly.
already in that roster. Let me put my eggs in a different basket.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I love it. So, you are in LA now. What inspired your move to Los Angeles? And, if you could share, what challenges have you been facing as a Hmong American artist in the big city?
Yeah, I have been. Well, I moved to Los Angeles about 4 years ago, and this was, I think, a year after the pandemic. So, from a young age, I've always known I wanted to live in California and specifically Hollywood because obviously I loved Britney Spears, I love Selena, and if I knew I was going to take it serious and grow globally, this is the place to be. And so
Mhm.
I've always known I wanted to live on the West Coast. It was just a matter of doing it. And so I went to school. I graduated with a bachelor in graphic design. I
Mhm.
wanted to make my family proud, right? I have something to fall back on. Did
Right.
that. Got a job in my corporate field, and I was making like good money, but oh my god, like when you have everything, you have nothing, and I
Mhm.
realized that I was like, wow, I may have everything that seemed like I may have everything that Hmong people may consider successful, but I didn't feel successful. I wasn't
Mhm.
happy and I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so when COVID had happened, I had a really big wake up call, and I was like, you know what? Life is so short. You never know what's going to happen. You should just do it. And so I'm like, with or without money, I'm gonna go out there, and that's exactly what I did. So I
Period.
sold everything in my
Oh.
house, and I made the 3-day drive to LA. So
Mm.
I've been living here since then, and yeah, I would be lying if I said it was easy because it is not. But I will say it's really fun. I think it's a lot of adventure, and I think right, you have to, depending on how your mentality is too. Every time I'm faced with a challenge, I'm just like, oh, this is God's way of challenging me. He's throwing another game at me. This is a boss battle, you know. And so when I came out to LA, I was like, the first year I got laid off from my job because I was remote working. So then I was like, okay. So I applied for like 2 or 3 other jobs, worked there for a few months, got laid off again. My car got impounded. And it was hard because I'm also from a big family. And so, like, my mom, like, my mom and my siblings and us, we've always grown up low income. And so I knew that they wouldn't be able to support my journey out here, you know. But I also confirmed with them, I'm like, not that I don't need help, I'm like, I don't need help, but don't worry about it because I'm gonna do it, you know. And I'm like, if it
Yes.
was really bad, I would tell you and I'd let you know. But if it's not that
Mm-hmm.
bad, you know, like, it's not that bad, you know? And
Right,
so
right.
the first year was definitely a lot of trials and tribulations. There's a lot of like learning. I've always been, in my personal opinion, I've always been very intentional in life. But coming to California, I had to be extra intentional. And I was like, wow, you know. And so I feel like it's really good though. It was like my character arc, my character development arc, because now I
Mm.
feel like I really understand who I am as a person and what it
Wow.
is that I need to do to be where I want to be. And I feel like my music now is a lot more of a representation of what I wanted to do
Mm.
compared to what I did back in the past. Because I technically did music. I did like YouTube videos, and I dropped music here and there on Spotify, but nothing to what I did when I started doing it professionally or seriously here in LA. And so,
Mm.
yeah, I think also being a Hmong American artist in LA, I guess like the easier one to say is nobody knows who you are, right? But the
Mhm.
honest truth is that no matter what state you go to, people probably wouldn't know who you were anyways because, right, we're not like the main Asians. And so
Right.
I am always just like, wow, that just means that this is a blank canvas. This means there's a lot of room for us
Mm.
to grow. There's a lot of room for us to educate and to really shine, right? Because there's no like preset, oh, this is what Hmong people are. If nobody knows who
Mhm.
you are and you come on stage, it's like, whoa, what the hell is that? Like, who's that? Then what is that?
Mhm.
You know? And so I'm a firm believer of like, yeah, like if there's challenges, there's also room for success in there, you know?
Mm.
And yeah, I think definitely LA is is a very expensive city. But like I said, be super intentional about it. And I feel like the longer you live here, the more you build your friends and your network, the more you really start to understand where you really fit. Because I feel like a lot of us are from smaller states, right? Like we're from like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and I mean we do have some people out here in like Northern California, but I feel like within those smaller states and those smaller cities, we're not used to having so many people,
Mm.
so many voices, so many things thrown at us that like when you're in LA, it does feel kind of lonely, but
Mm.
it's not loneliness. I think it's more of like, no, everyone's just very loud. So you also got to be loud, girl. Like if you're quiet, you ain't going to be heard. So because, you know, so
Yes.
that's what I've also learned. I'm just like, hey, you know what? You got to make space for yourself. That's just
Mm.
how it is.
Wow, I love that. I love it's just a blank canvas. Like you're not limiting yourself, right? Because some folks might go in and be like, "Oh gosh, there's no blueprint, there's no how-to guide, right? Like there's no books for
Yes.
dummies to succeed out here." But you're like, "No, like this is for me. I'm going to do something about it." So, oh, that's so inspirational. I love that so much.
Thank you. I'm like, girl, I tell people all the time, like, let me be the dummy. I'll go test it
Yeah.
out. And then I'll write the book and I'll give it to you.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. And that comes with so much, like, you have to have such like, you need to know yourself and you need to love yourself so much to trust yourself to be able to do something like that. So,
Yes.
wow, that just speaks to so much about you and your character. And wow, girl, I love that. I love you, period.
Oh, I love you.
My next question, how are you navigating, building this career of yours while also staying true to your identity and your roots? I think a lot about, your music. Girl, I was just jamming to Sudisa a little bit ago. Um, and so I'm thinking, as you're writing your lyrics and everything like that, how are you inspired by, or are you even inspired by your identity and your roots as a Hmong woman?
Yeah. I will say like within my music artist journey, I knew I wanted it to be Hmong American. As much as I understand, like just doing American music would be that's its own challenge in itself too. You know, not saying that you would or
Mhm.
wouldn't blow up, but if you just do straight American too, you're competing with like the whole global, right? Like that's like Britney Spears, Ariana Grande, Doja Cat, all that stuff. Okay, not saying I'm not up in that level, but I'm like, okay. I do think there is like for me, I knew that I wanted to make music for Hmong Americans and Hmong American girls like me because I grew
Mhm.
up listening to David Yang. And I say him
Mhm.
specifically because his music is probably one of the first, right, like to ever do Mong Mika like that, in a
Yeah.
sense that really worked and it was flowing, right? It's not like
Mhm.
corny, it's good. And
Right.
I was like, wow. And that really, I was like, damn, like if he could do it, I could do it too. And that's
Mhm.
when I was like, how can I do this for me and for women like me? And so when I made my artist journey, and when it comes to like even writing, I want to make sure that it's music. I think a lot of my music is very like music I could shake my booty to, which I
Yes.
mean that's always kind of like the requisite. I'm like I have to be able to shake my booty. If I can't shake my
I love
booty,
that.
it's not my song. So I
I
do
love
have
that.
like some slow songs, but I'm like, but I can still shake booty to it a little bit, you know? And so yeah, I wanted to make music that really empowered people, whether we were talking about like sad things or happy things or whatever, right? Like
Mhm.
whatever it is, I want you to feel empowered to do and be you. And so when it comes to like writing, I wanted to also be, I don't know, I feel like because we are also part of that generation of growing up and seeing our idols, right? Like Britney
Mhm.
Spears and Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera. I say that in the 90s because those were my girls. Compared to like the new generation, right? It's like, wow, they're so intelligent, they're so creative in their writing process. And I'm like, dude, I know we could do that with Hmong music. And not saying that we don't, but like Hmong American music. And so I've thrown in like little Easter eggs here and there, and I think it's so cute when Hmong people are like, "Oh my god, did I hear Maikyo?" Like, wait, what? Like, wait, is this a Hmong song? Like, ain't nobody gonna say Maikyo if it wasn't like a Hmong person, right? Or
Right,
like,
right.
I just throw in some Hmong words here and there, and so and I feel like in creative ways, I'm like, yeah, so I could catch them off guard. And so yeah, when it comes to like my music, I knew I wanted to make it for Hmong American girls like me. I mean,
Mm.
and guys too. We're not limiting at all.
Right, right, not at all.
But yeah.
I love that. I love that. So as we're kind of talking about, your the way you write your music and everything, how your music obviously, if y'all haven't listened, y'all need to go tune in right now, okay? But if you have, I'm sure everyone knows, a lot of your music is empowering Hmong girls, Hmong women to be unapologetically themselves. So as you're writing, your lyrics and your music, how do you approach writing songs that are both personal and inspiring?
For sure, I think it always stems from I think my strong desire of making music that I've wanted to hear for a long time.
Mm.
And so I think that's the cool part about being an artist. Like we can be our own heroes, right? We can
Mhm.
write music that allows us to heal and allows us to be able to go through that journey. And so when I started writing, a lot of my music is, I don't want to say it's like affirmations, but it's things that I tell myself.
Mm.
It's things
I
that I
love
really
that.
live by. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, like I'm gonna do it. If I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And so
Mhm.
I do think that I'm a firm believer of practice makes perfect, and I think that that's something that I've practiced for a long time that I wanted to put out there. Like, I think we should practice telling ourselves that we can and that we should
Mm.
and that we are
Mhm.
capable. And so that was really what my music is. So like a lot of the stuff, like, and I do think that I feel like my music, it's still kind of hard to listen to for some people because they're like, I'm not like that, which I 100% can feel and validate that, because girl, I've been there. But
Mhm.
it's also like, I do think the more we hear these things and see people like us, right, in the industry doing it, pushing themselves, putting themselves out there, the more we're going to be like, oh, this is normal. This is
Mhm.
capable. And so when I write music, it's really about like, how can I write music that allows me to feel the way I feel and I'm not trying to say it's like my alter ego, but like I'm like, okay, well, how can I be whoever I want to be without being shameful or afraid of it? And so this is what I wanted to do, and so I write music
Wow.
that I think definitely from a young age, like it's nothing I would have dropped because I was like the most church girl growing up. But like, I'm pretty sure like my church members now, my youth team is like, damn, she did a full 180. And I'm like, no, actually, this is always who I've been from the bottom of my heart. But I was just respecting Jesus and my family and everybody else, like, so I was like, it's just
You are
time.
so funny.
But yeah.
Like, it's time to let Ninaco shine. Not Kalina, Ninaco.
Yes. Girl, Piercy, you know what I'm talking about.
I love that. Are there any specific experiences or stories that have influenced, your lyrics and, your creative direction? Because, girl, your music videos are top tier. Like, I'm like, whoa. Yes, period. Every time it's on the screen, I'm like, yes, this is what we strive to do. I love it.
I love you. Thank you for that, by the way, because I shoot them all myself. So
wow. Oh my gosh, that's
so
amazing.
I'm like, thank you. Yeah, I think like whenever it comes to like writing, I think some of the stories that I tend to fall back on is one, my upbringing. I think that there was a lot of shame growing up and not being the daughter that I could have been or wanted to be. And it was hard because I feel like from a young age, I knew what I wanted to do and I knew who I was. But I think the way I was raised, right, and our parents, they're kind of like, no, you should be this way. You need to act this way. You need to do that. And so I tried to fit in the mold. And so I think that is like obviously experience that I continuously still reflect on because I'm like, damn, like there were so many times where I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be loved and I just wanted to be accepted for who I was. And I still deal with things like that to this day. Like I mean, people who know me, I'm very outgoing. I'm very talkative. I'm also I'm a big personality. I mean, I could be really quiet too, like most of the time if I don't know if I'm coming into for the first time, I'll just analyze and listen and watch. But if it's a space where I know I can be myself, I will be myself unapologetically. And so that is definitely one of the experiences that I feel like is the foundation of who I am as a person. And I think I think just similar things, but a lot of themes in my life where I just grew up and I just was like trying to be myself, and there was times where I felt like people were like, no, or why are you doing that? And so I think like I said, I really wanted to make a space where people just felt safe to be that loud person that they wanted to be, because I feel like as Hmong American women and Hmong women, we are taught to be quiet and to be silent unless we're spoken to, right? We're meant to just do things. We're not really meant to be anything. And so I'm like, hell no. And so I think that's definitely one of the main experiences that I feel like I still reflect on to this day. As for, I think currently, I think the world and the space, or the world and the industry, is a lot more open and a lot more inviting, which is really good. I think now the question is just how can we, now that it's out, how can we get people to feel okay listening to this type of music? I say that because I'm like, right, for example, Megan Thee Stallion, right? You're not gonna really hear Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B at church, all right, or like some school place, right? But when you're out or you're doing your makeup or you're working out, you're gonna listen to this type of music because it hypes you up and it makes you feel like, yeah, you're right, ain't nobody gonna be able to hold me back. And so that's kind of, like that's what I feel like. And so when it comes to that kind of experience, I want people to feel that same way, whatever you're going through in life, whether it's now, whether it's the past, whether it's still coming. I want my lyrics to influence people to just do it. Like, girl, there is no blueprint out there, right? There's no blueprint that says Kalina needs to be this way, or Ninaco, if you're a Hmong American female rap artist, you need to do these things. There isn't. We are the blueprints. And I think that that's the scary thing, because sometimes we're kind of looking around like for guidance, but at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong. It's just who you are, and we have to set that blueprint. We are the blueprint. And so I think definitely just the upbringing part, because I'm like, girl, yeah, every time I go back through it, like, that's definitely trauma that I feel like I still, like, I'm like, damn, I really went through all that. But I'm like, I know I'm not the only one, because every time I talk to people, they're like, damn, I wish you would have told me this. I'm like, girl, we all have the same story. Trust me, I know. I'm like, we just don't talk about it.
Literally, we all live the same experiences. We're just told to shush about it.
Yeah, and then we're like, damn, but where do we talk about it? I'm like, well, I'm gonna make music then, because what you gonna do?
Yes,
what you gonna do?
I love it. You mentioned a little bit earlier about representation and, finding people who look like you and all of those things. And so this next question, it's a recurring theme of yours in your work. How important is it for Hmong girls to see someone like you in the music industry, you feel?
Man, so important, especially for me. It's something that I wish we had growing up. And I feel like we kind of experienced it a little bit with the YouTube era, because we had
Mhm.
like that Hmong YouTube group. But I also feel like when it comes to especially music right now, I think it's so important because we're in a part where we are finally growing and we're healing from the traumas that we grew up with. And I think that now that we get to set the tone for the next generation, we also need to heal so that we can be able to understand what it is that we want to set for the next generation.
Mhm.
And so I think it's so important to see Hmong women like me, and not just me, but like the Hmong women I've looked up to being in the industry as well, or before I was in the industry. And I'm like, wow, like nobody told these people to do it. Like nobody, like, I mean, God forbid they were probably good and people were like, well, you should be a singer. But at the end of the
Right.
day, like I will say this, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like even in this industry as artists, there's a lot of loneliness because people kind of only want to support you when you're succeeding and you're thriving, right? And so
Mm.
when your music is not popping off, when you're not getting booked and whatnot, if you're not the biggest hype, what like who actually is really there for you and who really does support your music or your aspirations? And so when it comes to music, I wish like we could pick into the brains of like our old idols, right? Like Paradise and Sun Rush and like just our old artists and be like, hey, like how was it for you? Like, was it hard? Like,
Mhm.
was it
Mhm.
easy? What things did you deal with? And I feel like because they never really got to talk about it, we kind of just have to figure it out on our own and just kind of be like, okay, if they can do it though, we can do it, right? And so
Mhm.
there's at least that blueprint of it's possible. And so, yeah, when it comes to like music though, I'm like I hope, and I see it a lot more. I hope that we continue to keep taking up that space. I hope that there's a day where we're just like, damn, we're just so used to seeing Hmong women. We're like, yeah, like, oh damn,
Yes.
people know who Hmong people are now too. Like people mistaking other people for
Yes.
Hmong. And I will say, like, I feel like we're kind of on that level because the other day this Kiklu guy came up to me. He was like, "Are you guys Hmong?" And I'm like, what the hell? I was like, like, not only did you specifically pick us out, but you picked us out for the right Asians. And he was like, yeah, I've been
Mhm.
studying your face features. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm pretty honored. So I'm like, I will take it.
It's a win. It's a win.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a win. I'm like, I'll take it.
That would be such a cool segment to like talk to the older
Yes.
music artists, in the Hmong community because you're right. Like,
I know they
how
went
did
through some
you
BS. They
right?
they hiding. They're
Right.
like, we good people, and I'm like, I know you are, but come on, tell me the tea. Tell me the real tea. Like, tell us how to do it and how you did it,
Yes,
because
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. You know, you're very active on socials. And so, how do these platforms really help you engage with the community and inspire others? Like, how are you utilizing social media?
Yeah, so before I even became an artist, I was actually an influencer. And so when I
Mm.
came to LA, I did influencing. And so I've always been a content creator at heart. Like, I've
Mhm.
always been making YouTube videos, I was filming and doing dance videos. And so I knew that I've always been a content creator at heart. Now, when I became an artist, it made sense, and I think it was just more of shifting my content and my narrative as to like, okay, how can I make all of these things that I love fall back onto
Mm.
me like as a brand, right? Because I am the
Mhm.
brand. And so there's no right or wrong in that, but when it comes to social media, I'm obviously also always ever learning, man. I am no professional, and trust me, every day they're dropping some new features. I'm like, god damn, man, like my brain capacity is not big enough, but
Right.
thank God for ADHD. I'm like, I think I can manage multiple things at once. So, and like if I'm very passionate about it, it's easier for me to remember and to learn. And so, when it comes to social media, I'm obviously always learning,
Mhm.
but I try to make the most use of each platform in the best way possible. Because Instagram is very like you show all the things that you're doing, the successful things you're doing, and all the happy stuff. Facebook is more of like a
Mhm.
personal or like a like let me go and dive deep on how I'm feeling and if you guys can relate. And then in
Mhm.
YouTube is very like do the tea, how to details, background, BTS stuff, right? And
Right.
so I do think with my experience of being a content creator and being in the field, I technically everything that I'm doing now as an artist was what I did before. But now everything just goes back to being an artist because I was making YouTube videos. I was creating review videos. I was making outfit videos. I was just making funny skits. I was doing anything and everything that just made sense to me and made
Mhm.
me happy. And
Yes.
I truly treat social media as like my portfolio that I want to look back on when I'm like 50 and I'm like, wow, I did these things and there's digital
Mm.
footprint as to what I like of what I've done. And that's how I treat it. I know some people are like, oh, like they want to put like their best stuff out there. I'm like, girl, because they're like, why do you post every day? You should post like certain things and really intentional stuff. And I respect that too. But I'm like, girl, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, I have too much shit to say. Oh, excuse me if I don't know if we can swear, but I'm like, I got
No, you're
too much.
good.
I got too much stuff to say. And I'm like, and I don't have enough time in the day. And I feel like, right, I think that's one thing that does make me kind of like a little cuckoo about being among women is like, I like one woman out here like, damn, should I post that? I'm out here like, post it, like just post it all, and see if they like it or not. And I
Mhm.
think that that's the most important thing because that is social media. Social media, there's no
Right.
right or wrong, and you really have to put everything out there and see what sticks, and the world is gonna let you know what they
Mhm.
want to see.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. No, but when you share things like that though, it's really your personality, right? Like you're
Yeah.
not sculpting yourself into being like the perfect person. And I feel like for a moment social media was like that, where people just wanted to highlight all of the beautiful and amazing things that happen. But when you're like posting like that, it's great for my ADHD as well, right? Like I feel like we all kind of have
There's so
that.
much content.
Right. I'm like, oh yeah, what's Ninaka up to today? Oh yeah. But like also though, it's like, oh gosh, like I feel like this sounds very parasocial, right? But like I feel like I know you and like your personality and all of that. And I feel like nowadays, with TikTok and everything, people love seeing your personality online because they can be like, oh, like she's kind of like me. I'm kind of cuckoo too, right? Like all of
Yes.
those
Let's
things.
be cuckoo
So yeah.
together.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So I kind of want to shift a little bit and talk about, and you mentioned this a little earlier too, as you moved to LA, there are some challenges and everything like that, but being a creative in itself can be very challenging, especially in a very competitive industry. Um, if you would like to, I'd love if you could share, a challenge that recently or something that comes to mind that you kind of went through and how you overcame that challenge.
The first one she said one, so I'm like, girl, I'll give you two. the Yeah,
Content.
she's like, yeah. I'm gonna get all this cut up. The first one for sure, I think, which a lot of us can deal with, is one, finances, right? Like, I think we have such big dreams, and one of the reasons why we choose not to pursue it, obviously without being supported, is the finances. Because
Mhm.
sometimes we want to do things that we don't have the money for, and that can steer us away from pursuing what we want to do. But I'm a firm believer of if you love something, it shouldn't be about the money. Like, you should truly be able to do this without money, because when you get to that level, then you'll be able to make money. If you're
Mhm.
in it for money, you're not in it for the right reason.
Mhm.
And so that's the one thing for sure. And like I've said earlier too, I'm a big learner. Like, if there's something I want to do, it's possible. You just got to learn it. Like people who went out of space. Okay, those astronauts didn't just wake up and go to space. They went to school. Okay, like they were educated on how to do these things, what classes they had
Mhm.
to take, the spinny thing they have to do before they go out. Like, it's not impossible, but it's just really about how much time and effort you're willing to put in to learn about some of these things. And so I have had the opportunity to do a lot of these things on my own and learn on the back end. God forbid I'm not the best of the best, but I can tell people, I'm like, no, like I record my own music. I do some things here and there.
Mhm.
I film a lot of my stuff. And at the end of the day, if I had it my way, yes, trust me, if I would have loved to have all the money in the world and pop out some dope ass music videos like Cardi B and everybody else. Okay. But we don't come from that type of money. But I also wanted to be proof that you don't need money, that you need
Mm.
you, and if
Mhm.
you want it, you can do it. And
Mhm.
so that's definitely one of the first things that I feel like a lot of artists deal with, and personally for me. The second thing is understanding your value as an artist. When I first became an artist, I think okay, let me rewind. When you first become an artist, I feel like people kind of measure it based off of how many streams, how many views, or how often you're performing, right? And
Mm.
I completely validate those things 100%, girl. Like there's a reason why Billboard charts are Billboard charts, right?
Mhm.
But I'm also a firm believer that sometimes something new is not fast to be received. Sometimes what you're doing now is not meant for this generation. Maybe it's meant for the next generation. Maybe it's meant for that girl in the back of the room who lives in Kentucky. I don't know, right? Like it could be anyone and everyone. It doesn't have to be a large, wide variety group of people. And so in the beginning of my artistry, I would get a lot of inquiries to like perform in like different states and stuff. And it's not bad. Like I also just want to be very transparent because I think this is important, right? Because not a lot of people talk about this,
Mhm.
which is not bad. Their rates are usually around like $100 to $300, I think, to just perform. And sometimes you'll be lucky if they pay for your flight and your hotel. Sometimes they won't. And so I think the hard part is really understanding your value as an artist as to what you really bring to the table and what you're really, really willing to accept.
Mhm.
And the first 2, 3 years, even to now, I'm still very like, no. Like I appreciate
Mhm.
it, but no. And that's not to be like it's not worth my time or anything, but at the end of the day I'm like, there's also respect as an artist, and everybody has a right to decide whatever their rates are. But I feel like if you're running an event and you're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars and if you're getting $50, $60 a ticket and they get free bottle service and tables, I'm like, I know you're making some type of money. And I'm like, and
Mhm.
whether or not you are paying your artist, that's fine, but the artist is the reason they're there, right? They're not just there to drink and stare at each other. They want music, you know? And so I also just want to kind of put it out there that I think saying no is good. And I
Mhm.
also one thing that I really reflected on was like, I did feel bad about it for a minute. I was like, damn, should I say yes? Like just to get the experience and the exposure. And that's definitely a route you can take, right? Depending on what it is you want to do, whether you want to say yes to like cheaper rates so that you can get more exposure, so people know
Mhm.
your music, so you can get a little bit more well known, right? Or vice versa. If you have a certain way you want to set these shows and you know what you need to be successful and they're not able to give that to you, being able to understand that, hey, I appreciate it, but unfortunately this is just not a good fit for me. And
Mhm.
so I think it's important, because I was thinking about it, and this came across my mind. I'm like, you know what? You know who has not been performing like every year and doesn't say yes to every little thing? And I was like, Mavu, Bonya Hyung.
Mhm.
All these women in the industry who know their artistry, they know what type of show
Mhm.
they want to bring and what it takes to make it possible. And that's the type of, I was like, we already have women who are setting this type of tone. We
Mhm.
just have to really be aware and be like, wow, yeah, exact follow those the follow that type of example. And so when I thought of that, like, what, you're right. I'm like, I know where I sit I know where I sit as an artist, and I know what value I bring. And so I understand that too. Like, you can do free shows, but I know what kind of show I want to curate. And like, Mavu, she has like dancers, okay? She's got like, they got some Chinese clothes, there's fans, like there's glitter. Bro, that is not no $300 show. Okay, let me put
Right.
that out there, right? But also, it wasn't like people were like gonna give her the thousands of dollars. She has to prove
Mhm.
to them, this is what I'm doing with your money, this is what I'm capable of bringing. And I think that that's a route that I really want to encourage for us as artists and also future promoters, right? To really hone in, like, yes, at the end of the day, I get the goal is to make the money, but if you're really, what's your true goal as an organization? Are you supporting the upcoming artist scene in a way where, like, we want to support them so this can be thrived, so they can thrive and this could be a long-term career, instead of,
Mhm.
yeah, they do this for a few years and then they have to go do a different job, right? And
Mhm.
so I think definitely those are the two things that I've kind of dealt with. But I'm like, you know what? I think you just have to really be stern on who you are and what you want. And don't be afraid or scared about it.
And I will have to say, I've had a handful of Hmong women artists on this podcast, okay? And this is just a disclaimer. As someone who actively listens to all of you all, it's insane the amount that they are willing to pay, right? And this is, you're not the first person who has talked about this. And it seems to be a problem, right? Like, because it's you, like I said, you're not the first person who's mentioned this as a challenge as an artist, you know. And so I'm glad that, you know, we're speaking up about this, and I'm hopeful that, you know, as we continue to talk about this, things will change. Because hell yeah, I want to see a whole lineup of all the Hmong women artists on a stage, and like that would be amazing. And
Oh
like
yes.
obviously, like we would be paying, like, yeah, we're paying $300 for a damn ticket. Like you guys should be getting some of that too. Like, what the heck? So yes, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's so needed. It's needed to be heard. And you know, we're all about transparency here. Like, if this is if this is what it's going to take to have these conversations to elevate our community in the music industry, then yes, we're going to have these hard conversations. So thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. Okay, now that, you know, we've got that out of the way, we went on a little tangent there, but I don't care. We
We
needed
was
that tangent,
ranting.
okay? Yes.
Facts though, facts.
um I want to talk about like the big moments in your career that have felt rewarding and affirming. If you could shine a little light on that, that would be great. You know, kind of lighten up the mood again.
It's just like, what good things have you experienced? Wow. There is upsides to being an artist. I will say I think the one thing that I will never get over is how many of my idols, like in the industry, are so kind and so supportive.
Mm,
There's people like before I became an artist, I was very behind the scenes. So I was a photographer and videographer under the name Kalina Creations. Now currently
mm,
shot by CC. But I used to do a lot of stuff back in Wisconsin, and I was literally the BTS person, bro. Like I shot for Death Rhyme. I did a little bit of stuff for like Yellow Diamond
wow.
Records once when they did their concert. And so I met like Death Rhyme, David Yang, Peter Vu, and all of them. And so it's so cool to kind of have a full circle moment sometimes to see them like reach out and be like, "Hey, like I really love your music. Keep doing what you're doing." And I'm like, "Oh my
Wow.
god!" Like, you know, like look at you. I'm like, I don't know if you remember me, but I was that little weirdo from like 5 years ago. You know, I mean, I don't say that, but I'm like, I wonder if they remember who I am, and maybe they do, and that's
Yes.
why they're like, super nice too. But I'm just so grateful. And so that's definitely one thing that I'm like, I will never get over. And you
Mm,
never know who's gonna reach out to you. The second thing I would say is the new people. I think like I've had people in the industry right now who are currently being loud, proud, and unapologetic. And it's funny because we're kind of like cheerleaders for each other. Like we'll message each other
oh,
and be like, "Hey, like I just want to say I love what you're doing, and I want you to know." And I'd be like,
yes.
"Bitch, same, same, okay." Like we in this together, okay? I'm liking your shit and
Yes.
commenting on your shit because I love you. And
Yes.
so I think those are definitely like the biggest like aha like oh my god moments. And I do think that this is so funny. This is also like a moment that I had that I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm starting to kind of understand a little bit of what my audience is looking like. But the other day somebody actually posted, they're like, oh, I've always been a silent listener of Ninaco. And I feel like that was the best representation of what
Mm,
I feel like it kind of is, because I feel like a lot of people are still watching my journey and going, should we jump on this bandwagon? Right? Like,
mhm,
is this really a safe space for us? And can I really back this up or be a part of something like this and unapologetically be like, yeah, that is who I am. And so
mm,
just stuff like that. I was like, wow, like it's like a little like, oh, I'm happy to know that there are women out there who may still be a little bit more afraid or a little bit more less open to be like, yeah, no, I think that her music's kind of cool. And so it's kind of cool when people are like, yeah, I've been a silent listener. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So you guys are listening. It's just silently. I'm like, well, that's good.
yes,
Like
yes,
all that matters to me. I'm like, you don't have to tell me, as long
mhm,
as it helps you and it makes you feel powerful and you can do what you
mm,
need to do. That's all I could ever ask and pray for and wish
wow,
for. So
yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. I think it's so I think it's so interesting, you talk about silent listeners, because I think it's what you do is different, right? Like your music. No, and I mean that in a good way. Like it's not the social norm of like what is it? Like a good girl or whatever they try to box us in, right? And so for you to kind of highlight like there are people who are listening, and like you mentioned, it might they might just still be in that shell of like, is this okay? Is this not okay? Like, where am I
What's
on
happening?
this, right?
Is
Right.
it this way?
Right. Like, do I have permission to shake my ass? Like, is that okay? Like, like
Ninaco
those.
said I can. Is that
Right.
enough?
Right. Right. And so I love that you highlight that, because it's those types of supporters that once they kind of break through that shell, then they're going to be like, "Oh, Ninanko was my inspiration. Like, this is how she helped me." So, I'm excited to see those stories and the comments on, your pages one day, because I know that it's going to, because low key, I be shaking ass. I don't have an ass, but I be shaking ass to
She said she
to
don't
your
got an ass.
music.
She
No,
lie.
I don't at all. But your music is, like that hype music where, oh my gosh, if we're gonna go out, we're gonna Nananko's on that playlist, right? So yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you.
My next question for you: what advice would you give to young Hmong women who are chasing this field in the creative industry but feel hesitant to step into their boldness?
One, definitely, I think the first thing I would recommend people is make sure you have the right people around you.
Mm.
When you surround yourself with people who really love you unapologetically for who you are, you can really start to unravel and learn to love yourself in the way that you deserve to be. And I say that because there's only a handful of people in my life that I can be like, no, that bitch can deal with all my BS, bro. Like she's been there when I'm like super energetic, and she's been there when I'm like crying at my worst.
Mm.
And there's only a handful of people that like I mean I feel like it's a lot more open now because I'll meet women and they'll be like, no, girl, be you, and I'm like, oh, thank you. But like I have friends who like before that was popular, they were like,
Mhm.
no, girl, like you have every right to feel like that, like you
Mhm.
should. And so I do think one, it's very important for you to surround yourself with the right people. So make sure you have people who really love you and support you around you. And I think that'll also help you like with whatever you're going through, right? And whatever you may still have to heal. The second thing would be do it. Like this quote I heard the other day when I was like doing photography
Mhm.
was the reason why you're afraid to do it is because you're afraid to succeed. It's not because you're afraid
Mm.
to fail. Girl, you gonna fail regardless if you're not gonna do it.
Right.
You're just afraid if you succeed. Because what happens if you are the best at the best of what you just picked to
Mhm.
do? This is gonna
Mhm.
be your life, right? Like Beyonce, she was not afraid to accept. Now she is literally the biggest pop star in the world. But that's something
Mhm.
she has to live with every day, right? Now she is literally the biggest pop star in the world, and she proved that you could do it. And so I think that it's not the fear that we can't do it; it's the fear that you can. And then what? Like you shouldn't. You should be able to be like, damn, I can. And so I think that it's important for you to also just give yourself that grace to be able to find yourself and to explore and to love yourself and to forgive yourself.
Mhm.
I feel like being in this industry, and I think also growing up as a Hmong woman and women in general, right? We're always trying to find ways to be better and more understanding and more kind. Which, girl, yes, 100%, right? But girl, you should try to do some of those things for yourself. Okay, be kind to yourself, give yourself some grace, and just remember that like you love starts from you. And so
Mhm.
I think that definitely once you start to really love yourself and you understand where you, and not just like body wise, right? Like emotionally, personality, character, everything. Once you really understand who you are as a person, then you can be like, hell yeah, nobody could tell me anything because
Mhm.
I know myself the best. And so I think it's important for you to really just give yourself that grace. You deserve happiness, you deserve grace, and you should do it. And then I'm like, last thing, I'm like, if you're afraid to hurt people's feelings and you're afraid to bring dishonor, I'm like, girl, you gonna bring dishonor, you gonna hurt people's feelings anyways. Just do it.
Mhm.
And like I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, I'm like, there's nothing you can say or do that's ever gonna make your family or your relatives happy to forever, right?
Wow.
Now it's important for you to understand what it is to make you happy because someday
Mhm.
they're gonna wake up and they're gonna be like, I don't like that you did this. I don't like you did that. Da 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 da. Right. So it's not. You need to understand where you sit and you measure yourself in your life. It's not about how you value yourself through other people. It's how you value yourself through you. And so I
Mm.
think that's super, super important. And so if once you overcome that, you can do anything, whether it's
Yes.
music, career, divorce, or whatever that you're going through. You can do it because you know that you are strong enough to love yourself and be like, no, I validate myself, I understand, and I'm right because only I have been through my shoes, right? Only I have struggled with
Mm.
things I've been through, and nobody's gonna understand me better than me. So yeah, don't be afraid to be yourself because everybody else is already taken, girl.
Mm. Wow, I love that. Oh, that was so good. That was so so good. Um, gosh, I'm speechless because I'm taking all of this in as well.
She's like, hold on, let me just write these notes real quick.
Yes, literally. Nanako, how do you stay motivated and continue to push boundaries in your work?
I will say in my artistry, I've learned that I've always given like art was always something that was important to me. And so even before I became an artist, I used to do this thing. Like I had a certain type of workflow for myself, but every year I would hone in on one type of art. And
Mm.
so there was like a year where I would focus on music, right? And there's a year where I focused on photography, and then there was a year where I focused on dance. And I want to bring this story up because I'm like, oh my god, this is what I mean, you guys. So the year that I decided to focus on dance, I went hard because dance was always something that I really, really wanted to do. And
Mm.
I mean, I've always loved dancing. Like I've been a K-pop girly. I did all the K-pop covers, you know. And I've watched a lot of like LA dancers from living in my little Wisconsin dorm room. And so it was funny because Casey Rice, she is younger than me. I don't even know how much younger, but I think she's like 5, 6 years younger than me. Little ass girl, right? She's a really good dancer, and I've been a big fan of hers for a long time. And I saw she was coming to Chicago, and so that year was the year that I was like, I'm gonna hone in on my dance.
Mm.
And I drove to Chicago, and I didn't really have any like friends who were in the industry or Hmong friends in the industry at the time because
Mm.
I did dancing, but everybody who was like Hmong who did dancing was like Hmong dancing, and I'm like, okay, I don't mind that, but that's not my thing, you know. I'm trying to do hip hop. And so when I went to Chicago, I went by myself, and I was like, you know, it's okay. Like I went on my own, and I was like, I want to do this for me because I deserve this, and I want to learn from the best of the best. And
Mm.
that's the class that I met Lexus Vang. Yeah. And so
Oh.
it's just like moments like that where I'm like, oh, and so when I met Lexus, you know, like we were able to do like some projects here and there. I did some photography for her, and she was actually one of the main dancers in one of my dance projects. And so just stuff like that. I feel like I'm always like, okay, how that was one way I'm like, how can I hone in on something? And if you feel like there's a lot of things you want to do, if you're not too sure, I think focusing on one at a time is good. And so when I
Mhm.
did that in that journey, I was like, wow, like I really love and appreciate that I forced myself to do that because nobody tells you like
Wow.
what are you doing to make yourself happy, right? Like what are you doing as a
Mhm.
hobby, right? Nobody cares about hobbies. They go, are you getting paid, you paying your bills,
Right.
you know? So I'm like, but to me, even like my siblings, I'm like, well, what makes you happy? Like do
Mhm.
something even if you don't get paid. What does it what sparks you to wake up and want to do these things whether or not you get paid? And
Mhm.
so yeah, I think with that I've always been a firm believer of sharpening myself as a creative, and I love learning. I feel like we're here on earth, right? We never know when our day is going to end. So why not just enjoy every day as if it's your last? And
Mm.
there's always so much to learn. There's so much in the world. And so, yeah, I think to stay motivated and to keep doing it is just really, I don't know. I just do what makes me happy. I don't know how to explain that, but I'm like, girl, I wake up and like, I don't know how to explain it, but once, when I was in middle school, I literally had a dream once of this guy and this girl, and it was like a little love K drama thing. And I kid you not, the first thing I did when I woke up was, I need to film that. And so I wrote a script down, and I
Wow.
like planned people that I was like, okay, I want this guy to be that person. I want this girl. And I literally filmed it with these two people from high school that I went to school with. I literally, it was so fake. Like, it was so funny, but so funny. Like, they were in a car, and I had like the hose, and I was like pretending it was raining,
Oh my gosh, I
and
love that.
I like filmed it all. And like, I've been
Yes.
one of those people that like, if I love it and I want to do it, I will do it. Like, there's nothing you can say
Mm.
or do that's going to stop me because it just brings me so much happiness. But I do think that with my upbringing, which I technically go in a little bit with my vlogs that are coming up. So shameless advertisement, but if you guys follow me on YouTube, I drop weekly vlogs
Period.
and I dive deep into it. But oh my god, I just love my train of thought. Girl, see, this is what I mean. My ADHD is just like whoop blah, and I'm like whoop blah. But anyway, staying motivated, right?
Mhm.
Definitely, I think happiness. Like the one thing
Mhm.
that makes me happy, because I'm like, passion is something that has driven me for a long time. Oh, that's what it was. Growing up, I used to cry a lot. Every day, my whole life was like
Oh.
crying and crying and crying.
Mhm.
Because I think I wasn't happy. I got yelled at every day. I got my ass
Right.
beat. And I was like, I feel like I'm doing my best, but why is it that I just still keep freaking messing up, you know? And so
Mhm.
I learned that sometimes you can't change the cards that you're dealt with or the situation you're in. However, you can change your mentality. And
Mhm.
that's the one thing that I really learned, because I'm like, if I can't change the environment I'm in, then I'm going to change myself. And so I think that with that, like growing up with that like trauma of just crying every day and not being happy with myself because I could never make my mother happy, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make one person happy every day, and that's gonna be me. Okay, that's gonna be me.
Mm.
And so
Wow.
I learned that I'm like, at first, and I tell this to my friends too. I'm like, it's like the funniest little like piece of advice. But I'm like, if you're struggling to find, like, if you're dealing with depression or if you're going through a tough time, do one thing that makes you happy every day, and that could
Mm.
literally be like buying yourself a bowl of pho or watching like the K drama you've been wanting to watch. And I say that
Yes.
like with the most like emphasis. I'm like, because it sounds so silly, but I'm like, that's what I mean. It's those little bits of permission that allow us to really get to a level where when people are overstepping their boundaries or like making you feel uncomfortable and happy about yourself, right? Then you could be like, like you
Mhm.
can't do that, because I know what it's like to be myself, and creating that safe space for you, you know? And so
Mhm.
yeah. So I think definitely when it comes to motivation, I'm like, girl, just do what makes you happy. Happiness is gonna really push you, and it's gonna make it a lot easier for you, because if you're doing it for
Mhm.
money, trust me, someday you're not gonna want to do it for the money. Unless the money's that good, but I'm like, how much are you willing to sacrifice, you
Mhm.
know? And so
Mhm.
yeah, be happy, girl,
Mm.
be happy.
You know, that's so inspirational. And I think that's something that I'm implementing specifically like the last couple years of this year, because I am taking ice skating classes for the very first
Oh,
time. I know. And I've always wanted to like I love figure skating. You know, Ice Princess on Disney Channel and everything
yeah,
like that, right? Like I
yeah.
used to love
Michelle
watching things
Kwan.
like that. Yes, girl. Yes. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, I need a hobby that like one will keep me active, but like two that like I'll enjoy, you know?
Yes.
And my fiance is playing pickleball, but you know, I don't want to be running
Oh,
all the time. But I'm like, what is fun, right? And what is
yeah.
like demure and like beautiful and like all the things, right? And so yeah, ice skating is what's making me happy right now. So I love that you brought that, because you brought that up, because it's true. Like when you do something for yourself that makes you happy, like you're just a more overall happier person,
Yes.
and you start to trust yourself, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this alone, I'm not gonna wait for anyone, like
Yep.
I can do this, I can do hard things, right? And all of those things, you start to build that mentality for yourself. So I love that you bring that up, because that's so true. Like the way to live your life is to live it happily, and to live it happily is to do things that truly make you happy. So oh,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, we are at the end of the podcast. I feel like we can go on and on and on and on. Like I love this. I love this. You know, for every segment of the podcast, towards the end, I kind of ask these core questions to my guests. And the first question is, what does being a Hmong woman mean to you?
Being a Hmong woman means you know you a badass. You know you could do it all, but you know
Yeah.
you could do more.
Mhm.
That's how I feel. I feel like we're still in this like, I know I can do it, but it's just like we have that desire to want to do more. And I think that
Mhm.
you know, for a long time we weren't given that permission to really explore and to try those things. And so I love being among women today, because I'm not the only one who thinks that. I see it in the generation today, and even in the older generation, how
Mm.
open they are to conversation and to change and to try things that used to be big no-nos back in the day, you
Mhm.
know? And so being among women, to me, especially today, especially in an era where I feel like people are starting to really understand who we are and discover us as a community. It's so
Mhm.
beautiful. Like, there's so many moments, which is so funny. Like, I hope I never get sick and tired of this. But like whenever I go to the airport, like they see my last name and they just like speak Hmong. Like this one guy was like, "Oh, Vang, my wife's a Hmong, like I equal all," and he was like the whitest, Mika guy, and he looked like he could be a firefighter or a school teacher, but he
Oh
out
my
here trying to
gosh.
speak Hmong, and I was like, "Damn, respects." And it's just crazy to see also how much they can see like like our desire to be seen and how much
Mm.
we've wanted to be a part of this community for so
Mhm.
long. And so I think that being a Hmong woman in this day and age is a very beautiful thing and a privilege. I
Mhm.
still think we never had to struggle, or not all of us, but most of us never had to struggle with coming from another country, right? And so I still always want to look back and think of and pay tribute to my grandparents because of the sacrifices they made for us to be here today. And
Mhm.
like even in my song Mong Dream and Dear Mong, I'm like the music is truly, I'm like, we're here because of our grandparents. They fought for the freedom that we are living today. And that freedom looks very different for all of us. And there's no right
Mhm.
or wrong. I think it's just important that we understand that you're happy and that you're safe and you're healthy, right? You're in a country
Mhm.
where you can learn to live. And so, yeah, I think I'm very honored to be among women today. I'm very grateful that I was born into this community. And we could have been anything else. We could have been Korean, Chinese, or Mika or whatever, right? But I'm like, wow, like Hmong, nobody really knows us. So we have that opportunity and that privilege to be able to do that, And so I'm
Mhm.
very honored.
I love that. I love that so much. Um, my next question is, can you share a quote, lyric, or mantra that inspires your creativity and life?
The best revenge is to prove them wrong.
Mm.
That is my favorite quote of all time.
Yes.
And that's from Medea, by the way, Tyler Perry. So if you guys don't watch Medea, um, but I love that quote so much because I feel like there was a lot of times where this is the quote that really, even before I heard this quote, this was literally like my life affirmations, or like if there
Mm.
was a program inside my body, this is probably the only program that got coded in me. But I was like, the best revenge is to prove them wrong. And there was a lot of times I feel like in my life where right? Like I've always wanted to do artistry. Like I will be very transparent. My parents and my family were not very supportive of my music
Mm.
from the beginning. I mean, from a young age, like they weren't like against it, but there was times where I wanted to pursue it, and they were like, "No, you need to be home. You need to be taking
Mhm.
care of your siblings. You can't be going to compete among New Year's because you don't make money, right? Like you're not even winning and you're not making a lot of money. You need to be home taking care of your family and all this stuff." And so there was a lot of times I feel like in my life where like walls were put in front of me, and I was just like, "Damn, like." How am I going to break down this wall? And so
Mhm.
I truly believe that like the quote is the best revenge is to prove them wrong. Because when somebody
Mhm.
tells you that you can't do it, girl, the only person holding you back is you. Everybody's going to tell you you can't do it. But if you tell
Mhm.
you yourself you can't do it, you held yourself back, not anybody else.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very important. And, sometimes the journey is not quick. Like, for example, um, when I came out to, when I started doing influencing in Wisconsin, I dropped a lingerie haul video for Shein, and I had no idea if it was gonna even like get picked up or anything. But I bought like hella stuff from Shein. I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to do like a haul video. Plus, I would love to see it from like a Hmong woman. I didn't really.
Mhm.
I mean, I could be wrong. At the time, I didn't really feel or see like there was a lot of Hmong women doing lingerie content and stuff.
Right.
And so I had dropped the video, and I remember my mom had like she had called me and she was like, "You need to take that down right now because your uncles and your grandpas like they can see that stuff and some more, like da 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 da." And I
Mm.
was just like, and I'm not gonna lie, like the fear and everything comes up in you, and you're like fuck, like no, my mom's right, but then everything in me is like no, and it's so funny because my mom was like, you're not Victoria's Secret model, like da 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 da, and that's when it clicked in my brain, and I was like, well, how do you know? Like, how will you know if I won't be a
Mm.
if I won't be a model if I'm never pursuing? I'm like, Victoria's Secret models don't just wake up as Victoria's Secret models. I'm like, people have to put in work. There's experience that
Mhm.
goes into it, and so, and I think it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of the crazier, or not crazier, but more of the harder, tough conversations that I had to have with my mom. But after that conversation, she did message me back, and she's like, "No, you no." And I told her, so I'm like, at the end of the day, whether or not my uncles or grandpa them see this, how they feel and what they get from this content is on them. This content that I made was for women who want to wear lingerie. If anybody else feels some type of way, that is on them. It is not my responsibility for how they feel on what I'm wearing, because that's something that we still deal with to this very day, right? And I was like, and I'm not out here making it for men, bro. I'm making it for women, so we know what the hell to wear, so we know not to spend money and lose money on some dumbass clothes. Because, like, girl, I'm not gonna spend $500 on some cheap ass clothes, right? I'm like, girl, I do it so you don't have to. And you're like, they missed the point, right? And I'm like, but that's, and I get it, And so just stuff like that. I'm like, the best revenge is to prove them wrong. Sometimes you have to do the difficult things. Sometimes you have to push the social norm. You have to try it, and you have to show them it's okay, right? Like, what is the problem? Why was the problem that we couldn't do those things? Explain it to me. And I bet you once they go deep in depth into why, they'll understand that the problem is not you. The problem is something else. And so, yeah, I think anytime anybody tells you no, you just tell them no back. So yeah.
Uno reverse.
I'm gonna need a shirt like that. Just Uno reverse. I turn around and I go, no.
Ninaco, where can listeners find your music and follow your journey online?
You can find me on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything, girl. I'm not on X, though, because that's a whole different platform that I don't even know how to manage. But, I'm definitely very active on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. So any of those four, definitely follow my journey. I also post different stuff on each of them. So if you love seeing different sides of me, do it, girl. Trust me. You're going to want to follow all of them, not just one. I don't post the same things on all cross platform, okay? So yeah, if you love music that empowers you, that lets you unapologetically be yourself, and if you're looking to join or follow an artist before they blow up, I'm your girl. Come on, let's be besties. Let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna pause the podcast, and you're gonna go follow Ninaco on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Right, her links will be in the bio and the description and all.
Yes,
all of it. Oh my gosh, I had such a fun time with you. Thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your journey and all of the things. You've inspired me in the hour that we've had together here, and I love it so much. Thank you again for sharing your fearless journey, your music, and your message with us today. I think that your commitment to really amplifying your voice, Hmong voices, and empowering our young women reminds us to really embrace our boldness and our creativity. So to our listeners, may Ninaco's story inspire you to pursue your passions unapologetically, honor your roots, and use your voice to uplift yourself and your community.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.